Good evening. Once again, Jihad El Jihad, Chapter 5 of the Autobiography of a Detroit Hustler. This chapter is entitled A Real Life Boogeyman. June 26, 1972, I pled guilty to attempted larceny from a building and was sent to the state prison of Southern Michigan for 1.5 to 2.5 years. They were taking mostly blacks into the army in those days, straight from the courtroom, and 60 days later, your ass was in the jungle in Vietnam. I had been to the recruitment station. I was ready to go if the court would allow. I was volunteering. I was trying not to go to prison for sure, but just as much, and I know how this is going to sound, but I wanted to go because I knew they had the very best dope over there because they were getting 90% pure heroin back to the States from Vietnam. And believe me, if you want to, but I was willing to go to Vietnam just to cop. I didn't give a damn about that fighting for your country bullshit. I was looking to holler at Mama San. I wanted to get blowed. Such is the mind of an addict. So at sentencing, I had my dad, Janice, who was almost pregnant with my second daughter, Jamila, and my baby daughter, Marcella, and the army recruiter. Now, here's a real dummy for you. I went to court that morning sharp as hell, but not the kind of sharp you want to go to court in, especially for sentencing. I wore a gray Borsalino, a gray silk and wool sport coat, a black shirt, black and white silk tie with a matching puff, black gabardine pants, and black and gray wingtip Stetsons. My dumb ass looked like a little red Al Capone, and I got sent to Michigan's equivalent of Alcatraz. Before the judge passed sentence, my lawyer spoke, which whatever he said didn't amount to shit anyway. Then I spoke. Then the army recruiter spoke. He spoke about how highly I had scored on the entrance exam, and the recruitment exam, and how the U.S. Army was looking forward to making a man and a soldier out of me. Now the judge spoke. He spoke about how good it was I scored high on the Army recruitment test. He said the problem was I also scored high on another recruitment test, the test that was going to recruit me to the penitentiary. In his words, I would not send this person anywhere where he wouldn't be confined with steel bars and locked doors. Therefore, I sentence you to no more than 2.5 years and no less than 1.5 years in the state prison of Southern Michigan. Now, I got to tell you, up until the time these words came from his paper-thin lips, I really didn't believe I was going to prison. I mean, after all, this was my very first offense. Everybody gets probation the first time, I thought. Unfortunately, the judge didn't think the same way. He and I were looking at the very same picture and seeing two entirely different things. When he was through, ain't that a bitch came out of my mouth from nowhere. It was definitely a slip more than a statement. His face took on the most fucked up expression and he growled, "What did you just say?" Even I wasn't stupid enough to let that slip again. He said, "Sir, if you utter one more sound," and he said sound, not word, "in my courtroom, I will add another year to your sentence for contempt of court." And hearing that, there was no way you could have paid me to say anything again. Off I went to the dungeon, the old Wayne County jail. I once saw a movie in which one of the characters was talking about fear. He described fear as the anticipation of an event that has not yet happened and may never happen. He said fear is a product of your imagination. Since I was a kid, I had heard all these stories about Jackson. A lot of the older cats that I grew up in the hood with, like Rob, had actually been to Jackson. I was definitely afraid though, and this fear was real. But I wasn't afraid enough to stop doing the shit I was doing that could send me there. But it's too late now. I'm on my way. The bus from the Wayne County Jail left for Jackson at 8 a.m. Friday, June 28, 1972. And I remember these dates by heart. It arrived about 10 a.m. They called this place Jacktown, the largest walled prison in the world. And I was unfortunate enough in my life to have made this trip 3 times. And upon your arrival, when you come over the hill off of Elm Street from I-94, It's always a very intimidating sight, even if you're just coming to visit. But especially if you know in a matter of minutes your ass is going to be inside that motherfucker as an inmate. This is how it goes. The van pulls up to the front side of the prison. There's a small building that's built on as an addition connected to the front wall. The front wall is actually a series of cell blocks connected to one another. This small building is called the Bubble. The Bubble is where all the inmates from all the county jails from around the state are stripped, given a shower with lye soap, given a haircut, issued state clothes, a bedroll, and ID. This was where I saw my very first true-to-life flesh and blood boogeyman. Try and picture this in your mind if you can. A young dude, 18 years old, fresh off the streets for the first time, intimidated by these events and scared as hell, who now in his mind is remembering all these horror stories he heard about Jackson State Prison. I'm about 5'10", a $135, soaking wet. I've always been slim with long red hair and freckles. I was also, back in those days, one of them baby-faced, cute young niggas. On the streets, and particularly in the stick-up game, this always worked to my advantage, because I just didn't look like the type of person that was going to do the type of shit I was about to do to you. A fact that always made me aware not to judge someone based on my opinion of their personal appearance. You never know what's on a person's mind or what kind of mentality or heart they got. And it was especially true with me. I just looked like this. So we're all in this large bullpen and they're calling us out one by one. You go through this steel door. They make you strip, put your clothes in the box to be mailed home. And now you're standing here butt ass naked. But at this time, it's just you and a couple of corrections officers. From around the corner, you can hear all kinds of commotion, voices, keys, doors and gates slamming, cussing, laughing, yelling, etc. And you're nervous as a hoe in church because you're wondering, what the fuck is around this corner? Problem is, you already know. You're about to find out. As I step out of the shower stall, I'm handed a state-issued towel. It's like one of those guest towels you might have in your bathroom. It ain't even big enough to wrap around my little ass. The officer says, step around the corner. Okay, here we go. I step around the corner and here he is in person. A real-life, flesh and blood motherfucking boogeyman. Quick survey of the surroundings. In one corner of this large area is a barber chair with an inmate cutting hair. In another corner is a large stall with a counter in front behind which are stacks of state-issued clothes and bedrolls. In another corner is an officer fingerprinting and taking the picture of the guy that just came around that same corner before me. And two officers just milling around, one of it which just happens to be standing against the wall right next to where I've just come around the corner. All of them now have turned their attention towards me as they were anticipating the next inmate to come around the corner. Why? Because as I come around this corner, butt ass naked, standing in front of me is a motherfucker 6'6", black as the bubbling crude on the Beverly Hillbillies, looked like he got muscles in his earlobes, snaggletooth, ugly as hell, and MD didn't have shit on this motherfucker. This has got to be the motherfucking boogeyman, I'm sure of it. And even more sure when he says in a voice that would make Pee Wee Herman jealous, turn around, bend over and spread them cheeks. Do you know the feeling when you just saw or heard something that is so inherently grotesque that your whole body gets that hot flash and you just want to recoil and never look at it and even acknowledge that you saw or heard it? Well, that's what I was having right then. Zoom. I'd sure like to get the fuck away from here. I looked up at this motherfucker, and I mean way up, and said, fuck you. Balled up my fist and prepared for whatever amount of fight this was going to be. He's standing there with one of them old style spray guns with the long pump on it. Everybody in this area now standing there looking at me and laughing, including the corrections officers. And for the life of me, I didn't see a motherfucking thing funny. I look at the officer that's standing right next to me because I'm sure he couldn't have heard this shit, although I can't understand why he didn't. Because if he did, he would surely put a stop to this. But he's smiling too. Man, can this shit really be happening? Are these stories really true? Damn, I ain't even been here 5 minutes. Look like this gonna be a long bit. Looks like I'm gonna have to fight my way into the penitentiary instead of out of it. I was in the semi-daze when I realized the Frankenstein monster is speaking again. He said, "Did you hear what I said? Turn around, bend over, and spread them cheeks." I'm looking around. It ain't nothing I can pick up that I could use to crush his black motherfucking skull with. And it ain't nowhere to go but back around that corner, which is a dead end. And eventually I'm going to have to come back around this way anyway. So I told him again, I'm going to tell you like I told you the first time. Fuck you. And balled my fist back up. Now these motherfuckers is outright laughing now like this is the Richard Pryor show or something. Now I turned toward the officer and asked him, "Did you hear this shit?" He looked at me and said, "You heard what he said, do it." I said, "Oh, you up on this shit too? Fuck you too." It's looking real bad for me right at that moment. Looks like I got my hands full for real. Way more than I ever bargained for. And these motherfuckers now is laughing so hard they crying. Even the Negro Herman Munster is laughing now. Finally, the inmate cutting hair relieves me of my dilemma before I self-explode and say, "Hey, young blood, you all right? You got to bend over so he can spray you for lice." Ain't that a bitch? Now I realize what it was in King Kong's hand. Why these motherfuckers let me go through all this shit? And I realize I'm just part of the daily entertainment. To this day, I still don't see a motherfucking thing funny. One boogeyman down, but I was about to run into two more before that first day was over.